There is a part of you that never grew up. A part of you that still feels what it felt years ago. Still reacts the same way. Still gets scared. Still feels rejected. Still waits to be seen. You may be an adult now, living an adult life, making adult decisions. But deep inside you, a child is still listening. This is your inner child. And whether you realize it or not, this inner child has been shaping your emotions, your relationships, and your reactions for your entire life. Have you ever noticed how some situations make you feel unusually emotional? Why a small comment can hurt deeply? Why certain people trigger fear, anger, or sadness instantly? Why rejection feels unbearable? Why you crave validation, attention, or reassurance? These reactions don't come from your adult mind. They come from your inner child. The inner child is the emotional memory of who you were when you were young. It holds your earliest experiences of love, safety, abandonment, fear, and belonging. And most people never realize this child is still active inside them. When you were a child, you depended on others for emotional safety. You learned very early what was acceptable and what wasn't. You learned when it was safe to express emotions and when it wasn't. If you were praised, you learned to perform. If you were ignored, you learned to stay quiet. If you were criticized, you learned to doubt yourself. If love felt conditional, you learned to earn it. These lessons didn't disappear with age. They became part of your inner child. Your inner child remembers moments your conscious mind has forgotten. The times you felt unseen. The times you wanted comfort but didn't receive it. The moments you felt alone, confused, or misunderstood. And those moments quietly shaped how you relate to the world today. As an adult, you may think you're reacting logically, but often it's the child inside you responding emotionally. When someone raises their voice, the inner child hears danger. When someone pulls away, the inner child feels abandonment. When you're criticized, the inner child feels unworthy. This is why inner child healing is not about the past. It's about the present, because the past is still alive inside you. Many people try to fix themselves without understanding this. They try to be more confident, more disciplined, more emotionally controlled. But the inner child doesn't respond to force. It responds to safety. Ignoring the inner child doesn't make it disappear. It makes it louder. It shows up in anxiety, in people-pleasing, in emotional shutdown, in toxic relationships, in self-sabotage. The inner child doesn't want perfection. It wants to be acknowledged. Carl Jung believed that the unconscious holds unresolved emotional material from early life. This material doesn't vanish. It waits. Inner child healing is the process of recognizing that the emotional reactions you experience today often belong to a younger version of you. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. In relationships, this becomes especially clear. You may feel overly attached to someone who gives you attention. You may feel deeply hurt by emotional distance. You may fear being replaced, forgotten, or abandoned. These fears are rarely about the present moment. They are echoes of earlier emotional experiences. The inner child is always searching for what it didn't receive. Safety, consistency, validation, love without conditions. When those needs were unmet, the child adapted. And those adaptations became your emotional patterns. Some children learn to become invisible. Some learn to be perfect. Some learn to take care of others. Some learn to suppress emotions entirely. These strategies helped you survive emotionally. But survival is not the same as healing. As adults, we often blame ourselves for our reactions. We call ourselves insecure, too sensitive, overreactive. But the inner child isn't flawed. It's wounded. And wounds don't heal through judgment. They heal through understanding. Inner child healing doesn't mean reliving the past. It means recognizing how the past lives in you now. It means noticing when your reactions feel bigger than the situation, when emotions feel overwhelming, when logic disappears and emotion takes over. That's the inner child asking to be seen. Many people spend their entire lives trying to silence this part of themselves. They distract themselves. They numb themselves. They stay busy. But the inner child doesn't need silence. It needs presence. Ignoring it creates emotional distance from yourself. Listening to it creates emotional clarity. This is why inner child healing feels so powerful, because it explains what never made sense before. Why love feels dangerous, why closeness feels overwhelming, why independence feels lonely, why trust feels risky. The inner child doesn't forget. It remembers how it learned to protect itself, and every protection has a cost. When you begin to understand this, something shifts. You stop fighting yourself. You stop judging your emotions. You start seeing patterns instead of flaws. Inner child healing is not about blaming parents or the past. It's about understanding the emotional blueprint you carry. And once you see the blueprint, you see your life more clearly. Your reactions, your fears, your attachments, they all make sense. This is only the beginning. Because once you recognize the inner child, you start noticing how often it speaks. In moments of stress, in moments of love, in moments of loss. And the more aware you become, the quieter the chaos feels. Not because emotions disappear, but because they are finally understood.